Oh, so fabulous. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dumebilia. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I hope you decide to subscribe, and if you're a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. So today we're going to be talking about this video that I came across. Like, you guys, I could not believe it. It happened in Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina. A student was being arrested by the police in her classroom. Guess what? Her teacher called the cops on her. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe it. Like, I don't understand. A classroom is the least place I'd be expecting an arrest to happen. Unfortunately, I cannot play the full clip here on YouTube because I do not want to get demonetized. YouTube is very strict about things like that. So I'm just going to put little snippets.
I swear to God, I hate you. I swear to God, I hate you, bro. You're the worst teacher ever. You get me taken out of here because I want to apologize? Because I want to apologize? You started yelling at me. You trying to embarrass me about my paper. You're a terrible teacher.
Is somebody recording this? Oh, everybody is. I hope you're recording everybody because that's ridiculous. Yes, that really is. For letting this shit happen. She sit here and say she loves black people and stuff, but you let this happen to her? Come on now. No, you yelled at her. You yelled at her first, but you want her to apologize. It doesn't make any sense.
You hear everybody in the class say, I'm not stupid, Dr. D. The whole class.
I'm so mad.
I am better than Carrie, bitch.
So mad.
What the hell?
Did you ever walk out of her?
Yeah, you were yelling at her. You were yelling at her.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so if you're interested in seeing the full video, please go to my comment section. I'm going to have a comment pinned with the link, so you can just click on that link and you're going to watch the full video and see for yourself. Just brace yourself because it's kind of disturbing. I did not like what I saw. So that being said, I'm just going to play a clip by the student herself because she came out and did a live video and explained the whole thing that happened from start to finish and how things got to the point that they did.
So basically, we had a group project assigned as a final, which is probably the dumbest thing, but I'm not here to critique her on her learning. We had a group final, we had to write a paper, and we had to also make up a skit for our group to present. It was 7 of us. I did most of writing the skit just because I wanted to. It was easy and it was fun for me. Well, I thought it was easy. I did the essay as well. She got back to me late. 6 hours before we had to present, actually, saying that my essay was completely wrong and I should revise it, all this shit. And I'm just like, I'm not going back and redoing this essay. That took me 2 weeks and you told me 6 hours before. I'm not redoing it. And I think I'm pretty okay for that. Ew, on camera. I think that wasn't a bad idea of not redoing it. I didn't feel any type of way, and I still came to the final to present with my group because that was what we were supposed to do. I came, did not say anything when I did come into the class because, like I said, I was already frustrated at the fact that she told me my whole essay was wrong. So I come into class and didn't say anything to her. She's talking, she's assigned us to our groups, and we're going to talk about what we're doing for the project before we actually have to do it. So I'm talking to 2 of my group members and come present it. So we talked about that, and she was like, well, it is wrong and you should redo it because it's going to greatly impact your grade. Once again, said I did not care about that because I'm only here to present with my group so that my group does not get a 0 on this. Well, I got hella views, so look at my story. So, boom, she starts getting loud. She starts yelling at me, telling me this is her class, so it doesn't matter what I think. I'm getting loud back. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I got loud back. I was raising my voice too. I'm like, Dr. D, like, you're yelling at me. I'm not going to redo it. I'm here to present with my group. Like, I'm here to get this done and get out. And she's like, you need to get out. Like, I want you to leave. And I'm like, leave? No, like, I'm here for my group project. Turn the comments off. How do I do that? No, is she told me to get out of the classroom, and I literally refused. I was like, I'm not going to leave. This is our final exam. And I didn't do anything wrong other than responding to what you said to me because I did not say anything to her. She's telling me to get out of the class. I'm like, no, I'm not going to. She's upset at this point. She leaves and she's talking to another teacher in the hallway. At that point, I guess, is when they decided to call the police, campus police. Campus police comes, and it is a black officer at first. I'm not usually one to mention race, But I think it is a little bit necessary in this instance because I do go to a historically black college, and for this to happen to me and be so provoked by people who are not of black descent, it hurts. So I feel like I do have to mention that. The black officer comes in, he asks me what's going on. I tell him everything. The class is telling him everything. As I'm telling my story, my professor comes back in. Yes, officer, I want her taken out. I'm like, whoa. He's like, whoa, I'm talking to her, I'm listening to her. So wait, we're talking, another officer comes in, and he is a white officer. He comes in and he's like, okay, so your options are you're gonna get out of the class, I'm gonna have to take you out. I'm like, what? Like, take me out? Take me out how? So, yeah, like they said, it is important because the black officer, he's a very well-known officer on our campus. He's never given anybody any problems. He's actually pretty cool, and he was doing his best to not arrest me. He was trying to have a conversation, and the white officer came in and was like, yeah, you're either gonna get out or I'm gonna have to get you out. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, Dr. V, you're gonna let them arrest me? And she's like, yes, Dr. V, Gomez, Cynthia Villa Gomez. So the white officer comes in, he says that, I said that to Dr. V, and she's like, wait, hold on. She's trying to, like, fix herself. She's like, okay, either apologize or you need to leave. I said apologize. Now, the old me, I'm sure I would have apologized, but at that moment, I knew that I was not the one in the wrong. I didn't start the situation, I didn't escalate the situation. I knew I was not wrong. So, I'm just like, okay, apologize for what? Apologize because you yelled at me and you dropped the F-bomb? Yes, I did drop the F-bomb and told you I'm not fucking stupid. That's what I told you. So, I'm sorry the F-bomb hurt your feelings. So sorry, baby, we're grown. If that was worth an arrest, let me know. Let me know. According to my mom, it wasn't. But continuing, I said, Dr. V, are you gonna apologize to me? I came in, I sat with my group, I didn't say anything to you. You decided to start yelling at me as soon as the fire alarm went off about my essay. So she was like, no, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm like, what? So then I'm like, wait, well, tell me what I'm apologizing for. Tell me what I'm apologizing for. At that moment, I'm talking to the black officer. I'm talking to my professor. The white officer is like, yeah, go ahead and take her. You have to go get her. To the black officer. So the black officer is like, okay, turn around, I'm about to put these handcuffs on you.
So you guys have heard what she had to say. From what she said, you guys think an arrest was warranted, and I'm talking like an arrest in quote, because I feel like they used too much force in handling her, and I did not like that. The fact that she's been arrested, first of all, is too much, and then to talk about using that level of force was too much for me. Check out the link if you guys want to know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to play some reactions from people to this very video, then I'll come back and tell you guys what I think.
This happened at Winston-Salem State University, an HBCU. That means that's a historically black college or university. And what appears to be a white teacher, or at least a non-black teacher, called the cops because she had a verbal disagreement with a student. From listening to the other students, it appears the professor raised her voice first, so the student raised their voice in response. Bearing in mind, the student is a whole grown adult, and adults don't have to be talked to any kind of way just because it's a university setting. But you see, this goes beyond just an adult interaction. This is a professor calling the cops at an HBCU on a black student. Let's break that down. If you work at an HBCU and you don't understand what it means to call the cops on a black person, and how that's 3 times more likely going to be a death sentence than it would be if that was a non-black person. Additionally, if you're a professor at any university and your interpersonal skills are lacking to the point that you cannot resolve this disagreement with another adult, you should be out of a motherfucking job. And lastly, the inherent racism that goes into assuming that just because that black woman raised her voice, that it was anger, that it was dangerous, that she felt threatened. If you're still clinging to that type of racial trope and you're a professor at an HBCU, you need to go. And I called Winston-Salem State University and I expressed my opinion thus.
I watched that entire video and it just made me so angry. Like, it really made my skin just crawl. Because, first of all, why do a lot of these teachers feel like they have a right to yell at their students? Why? Why do you feel like that's how you're going to get your point across? These students don't hear you when you're yelling at them. First of all. Second of all, you're not their parent. You have no right to yell at them. That's why they have parents. So if they're not listening, you reach out to their parent, a guidance counselor, the principal, somebody. That whole situation could have been avoided. And then to embarrass her in that way, to have her arrested in front of her peers because y'all had a screaming match? This went too far.
Now, I don't have all the details because it seems like this just happened, and y'all tagged me in a recent video, and I'll show the clip in just a second, of a young black woman at Winston-Salem State University who is allegedly being arrested for not wanting to apologize to a white professor. Now, before we get into the clip, I just want to say that I'm anti-white people being present at HBCUs, whether professors or students, and this is in part the reason. Now, in the clip, you can see the young woman who's in distress saying that you yelled at me first. And it sounds like the teacher was upset because she yelled at her and didn't apologize. And you can hear the other students also talking about the same thing. But there's a few things that we can deduce real quick before even knowing the full details of this interaction. Number one being that the police did not need to use that level of excessive force. She's clearly saying that you're hurting me, and she's not resisting arrest. There's no reason that the officers could not have tried to de-escalate her and walk her outside the classroom instead of having to cause harm to that student and all the other students who had to watch this young black woman in distress. Now, another thing is, the teacher clearly did nothing to try to de-escalate the situation as well. In fact, it seemed like she was antagonizing the students by continuing to go back and forth with them rather than create a safe space in a classroom. And another thing, this is the problem I have with white people in black spaces. My problem is that we all know the harm that is caused when you call the police on a black child, a black student, a black boy, a black girl, a black woman, a black man. And so for you to be a professor at an HBCU and think that that was an appropriate response in a classroom setting already lets me know that you don't have the level of care and understanding that you need to have for black people in order to be working there.
In that video, I see two things that it just didn't seem right to me, and I'm just going to say how I feel about it. One, I'm seeing a teacher weaponize the police against one of her own students. And two, is it possibly racially motivated? But we're going to set those two issues aside for just a moment. Now, is somebody yelling at another person a criminal offense? Is someone not apologizing for yelling at another person a criminal offense? My opinion, absolutely not. And two, is yelling at somebody and refusing to apologize at a level to where you need to call the police and have them arrested? Absolutely not. Now we're going to bring back in this teacher overstepping her authority and having the police called when she could have done a couple of things. She could have expelled that student from that class, from being able to take that class ever again. Or two, she could possibly have that student expelled from the school. But to weaponize the police against that young lady and have her physically arrested in such a manner, well, I'm sorry, it's just wrong. And I think it is possibly racially motivated. Now, if I was that young lady, I would definitely get me a lawyer and I would sue the teacher, I would sue the school, and I would definitely sue the police for false arrest, because yelling at somebody and refusing to apologize is not a criminal offense. Point blank, period.
I need to clarify that the teacher in question is not black. I do not know if she's white specific, because I found out that her last name is Gomez. So I think there's like someone that's not white. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do not know if she's white, but I know she's definitely not black. So you have this person that is not black teaching at a HBCU, and I think that's not uncommon. I think a lot of people that are not black teach or work at HBCUs, and I think maybe it's kind of controversial, at least from the videos that I just played. Some people think it's not a good idea to let people that are not black work or school in HBCUs. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. Then another thing I want to say is I've been a teacher at some point. I worked with teenagers. They're not very easy to work with. So I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, the student was right. First of all, she did the essay and the teacher asked her to redo it. So now, when it came to the time to present, the teacher asked her to leave and she insisted on staying, and it became a whole shouting match. They're screaming at each other. The student threw even the F word at the teacher and all of that. Is that right? It is definitely not right for her to have done that. Definitely not right. But if you're in the system, if you are a teacher or if you work with kids, with people generally, you know that there's always bound to be clashes, there's always bound to be disrespect, especially with students, especially with kids. There's always going to be some sort of clash or disrespect or whatever. So I believe like part of the training for you to be a teacher is to know how to handle situations like that. You should also have that level of professionalism and emotional intelligence to be able to know what to do at that point in time. Calling the cops, I do not think that was right. There are other things she should have done than resolving to calling the cops. I think the teacher went too far doing that, and then standing by and just watching her being handled in the rough manner in which she was handled without necessarily trying to, take a softer and kinder and more reasonable and more professional approach. I feel like the teacher failed. Those other students were there watching their classmate being rough handled and taken out and arrested in handcuffs and all of that. I feel like it must have been traumatizing for them having to watch that. But the update is that the student later got safely home after spending about an hour at the police station, and she was charged with second-degree misdemeanor disorderly conduct. And I'm like, she was actually charged. So it wasn't just that the teacher had called the cops to escort her out of the classroom. The teacher had actually had her arrested and charged. Like, you guys, can you believe this? I am in shock. Like, really? In the classroom? It doesn't make sense. I mean, like, that was definitely going too far. So, obviously, people have been calling, people have been emailing the school for something to be done about it. But the update last that I checked is that the teacher still has her job there. The policemen who arrested her still have their jobs there as well. And people want them to be fired. I don't know how I feel about that. So, these are the questions that I have. Do you guys think the teacher and the policemen who made the arrest should be fired? Number one. Number two, do you guys think the charges against Layla, the student, should be dropped? And another question is, do you guys think if this was a student of another race, a white student, do you guys think this would have happened? Do you think the teacher would have called the cops to arrest her? That's another question. Then another question I have is, do you guys think non-black people should work at HBCUs or should be allowed to go to HBCUs? Then my last question is for anyone who has worked with kids, who's a teacher or, in the system, what do you guys think should have been the best line of action for the teachers to have taken instead of calling the cops on the students? I really want to know. You guys let me know in the comment section. I really want to know. Please educate me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.